Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of 14-year-old Andrew Paul Gosden, who disappeared on 14th of September 2007 from his home in Doncaster, South Yorkshire. He was 8 days into his new school year and he had left the house withdrawing £200 from his bank account. He did leave in his school uniform and he actually came back to change out of that into some more travel-appropriate clothing. He then left to board a train, and he was last seen on CCTV footage leaving King's Cross Station. His family described him as a home bird who rarely left the house and never without saying where he was going, and the family referred to him as Roo, short for Andrew, I'm guessing. He only took his wallet, his keys, and his PSP, didn't even bring the charger or his passport, or the £100 that he had actually gathered from birthdays previously. The ticket seller at the station in Doncaster informed him that if they spent 50p more for a ticket, which was £31.40 for one way, that he could get himself a return ticket, but he actually refused the offer. At 9:35 a.m. he boarded the train. A woman that was sitting next to him reported that he had been quiet and engrossed in playing his video games. When the teachers found that he had failed to show up for school that day, they wanted to contact his parents, but for some reason managed to call the parents of a different child, leaving a voicemail about Andrew's disappearance on their machine. He arrived at King's Cross Station at 11:20 a.m., which is when they captured that CCTV footage of him leaving. That was the last confirmed sighting of him. Now, there are some suspicions on why he may have done this. Some say that maybe he went there to copy his sister, who had done something similar when she was younger, though I'm pretty sure she actually told her parents what she was doing. But she had also gone to London to hand out resumes to try and get some work experience, so they thought maybe he was doing the same thing. Also, there was a 30 Seconds to Mars concert going on at Brixton Academy. He could have gone there. Some speculate that he may have gone to see the Finnish band Him, that was doing a promotional signing at the HMV store on Oxford Street, but that was on Monday the 17th. And others think that he may have traveled down to London because there was a YouTube event going on, although he had never really expressed too much interest in YouTube, but it's a possibility. There were a couple of potential sightings going on, about 122 of them, including 45 from London and 11 from Brighton. Andrew's father said that there were 2 or 3 sightings within the first week of his disappearance that seemed credible, partly because of the way the witness claimed Andrew had spoken to them. They believe the most plausible sighting to be the one placed at a Pizza Hut on Oxford Street, about an hour's walk from King's Cross, on the day that he went missing. But the family claims that this lead was never actually investigated by the police. Another unconfirmed sighting put him at Oxford Street on Monday the 17th, where he was said to have been sleeping in a park in Southwark. He was reportedly seen getting off a local train from Waterloo to Mortlake Station on September 19th, and then possibly walking up to Sheen Lane and along Upper Richmond Road. That same day he was also reported to have obtained some warmer clothes. A woman who reported seeing him on the 17th of October, a month later, in Covent Garden, said she had spoken to a boy and stated that he looked like the boy she had seen on TV that was missing, but the boy denied that he was actually Andrew Gosden. In 2009, so a couple of years later, 2 possible sightings were reported, one outside the National History Museum, the other in a pub in Southend. None of these sightings could be verified. However, according to Gosden's father, none of the sightings were followed up by the police. The woman who reported the Covent Garden sighting was not spoken to until 6 weeks after the disappearance. In September of 2009, the family released an age-progressed image of what he might look like, age 16, to mark his second year of disappearance. And in November of that same year, Kevin Gosden appealed to the gay community to help find his son, believing that it may have been a possibility that Andrew was struggling with his sexual orientation and therefore likely to want to run away. Kevin Gosden said, "We are a pretty open family, so we have wondered if he was gay or struggling with his sexual identity and found it too awkward to raise. If he is gay, we do not have any issue with it. He is loved unconditionally by both my wife and I and his sister." Now, a lot of things were done to try and locate him, some like using sonar technology on the River Thames to try and locate any potential bodies. They did not find him there, but they did find another body, which was unrelated. Something that I found very interesting, that in June of 2018, the Gosden family said that someone had reported an online conversation with a person with the username Andy Roo, who claimed that their boyfriend had left them and that they needed £200 to cover rent. And when someone offered to send them money, the user claimed that they did not have a bank account as they had left home when they were 14. This link was investigated by police, but the person was not identified. Like I said in the short video, 2 men were arrested but also released, believed to have been connected to his disappearance. Some of their devices were taken and investigated, but in September 2023, the police announced that both had been released without charge and that they were confident that the 2 arrested played no part in Andrew's disappearance. So other than a whole list of sightings and some possible ideas on why he may have left, we don't really have a lot of anything to go on. So that is why I was asked to do a reading on this case. And we're going to do that starting off with the White's Dog Tarot, which is already on the table. And for any further questions, moving on to the Hush Tarot deck, which is this one. So as usual, I'm going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, we've got a full table of cards here, a couple of extras on the end there. We're starting off on the top left with Judgment in reverse and the King of Swords upright next to the 7 of Cups in reverse. This seems like we're feeling judged here, but there is somebody with a plan. The King of Swords may have been themselves, maybe they were plotting for a while, I don't really know. But we have a situation here where they don't seem to see any other options. All 3 cards have a heart on them, so this is a very emotional decision that's being taken here. They feel judged, as you can see here with the card. Then the King of Swords, while being logical in some ways, is also making decisions based on their feelings. And then we have the heart over here, of course, in one of the cups. And the 7 of Cups as well, which is in reverse. So we're making decisions based on feelings and we don't feel like we have any other choices but to do that or do the thing that we want to do as a possible solution to this problem, maybe, at least the situation that they're in. Also looking at the moon over there, it's almost like looking at that, wishing for some faraway place where things may be different. Maybe better, we don't know, but we seem to think that that's the only option that we've got, so that's where we're heading. We're shooting for the moon and landing among the stars. And then we have the 7 of Wands. We're feeling challenged. We have the Hierophant, somebody coming in as some type of guidance figure. Somebody ahead of the pack as well, who is apparently also capable of making him feel good. So maybe this panic or trying to find a way out is now alleviated here with the 10 of Cups. Now this card came wide on the end, but I'm going to go grab it in this lineup anyway for the top row. Knight of Pentacles is being very practical. So maybe once they have been promised this great future, they're like, okay, how am I going to set about getting it to come to fruition? So there is some practical consideration here as well, but they have some type of positive outlook waiting for them. So that appears to be the lead up to the event. I'm thinking this is where he actually boards the train and goes, because we have the King of Wands here taking action, and also to the detriment of their own resources here with the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. But we're pretty happy about it regardless. We're not looking too far into the future over here with the High Priestess in reverse. but we are thinking about the past, maybe lamenting that, like what could have been if things had been different. Even though the High Priestess is also showing that he did not really have all of the information available to him, like did not have the capability to look past the veil, so to speak, and see what's really behind the issues. But we're heading into a positive situation here with the Sun. We already saw the Ace of Pentacles in reverse over here because, of course, there was quite the financial sacrifice that needs to be made. That's kind of reiterated here with the Nine of Pentacles. Maybe upon arrival, things were great, but they also realized that actually they didn't have a lot to go on financially, resources-wise. So while they probably felt a lot better wherever they were not able to do a lot monetarily. They needed to get some help with that. But then we have the Ten of Pentacles. So maybe they actually encountered somebody or some way of fixing that. It also seems like a fairly harmonious situation here. Like there's a bird sitting on top of this dog's head. Now normally birds would not allow that. I mean, dogs would not allow that. But there's also a couple of cats here. Cats and dogs naturally don't really get along unless you raise them together. But this is more like we're coming together and it doesn't matter who you are. We've got something for you here, like that type of thing. So this may be them meeting up with people who helped them out, which might also explain the sighting where he appeared to have gotten some warmer clothing, if that was indeed him, and that sighting was valid. So it looks as though just these first two rows, he went there expecting a more positive future, and even though he took quite a financial hit at the start there, that was soon rectified over here. So he seems to at least initially have had a good time on his journey. Let's see what else we can get with the Hush Tarot deck. Okay, we got one flipped over here. Two of Cups in reverse. Now this card, I think, is usually suggesting that you're having a falling out with somebody, or you may not be on the same page with them anymore, but just the way that these two are positioned, I'm wondering if this is also a reference to being taken under the wing by somebody who you probably should not be associating with, possibly due to desperation. I'm looking at one of the things at the base of this card that kind of looks like a Mesopotamian statue over there or something on the right. And I'm thinking Natural History Museum. They were spotted there, so maybe there was somebody there at that point that they kind of like connected with. That was part of the deal, I guess, to make sure he wouldn't end up on the street, that they would sign up for hang out with certain people. Yep, one of them fell down here. This is the Four of Wands in reverse. Okay, so there's not a lot of harmony going on. I think this is definitely an arrangement made in a hurry because he doesn't have a lot of options, so he may have fallen into the wrong crowd here right off the start because, of course, he doesn't have a lot to go on. We have the Nine of Cups in reverse. He does not feel good about the situation. Once again, there is a snake there at the bottom of the cup, suggesting some poisonous, toxic behavior that may have been made to look better on the outside with the roses at the top. There was also roses here, but this one was already clearly pointing at a lack of harmony in the situation. So regardless of the purpose of traveling there alone without telling anybody, it does look like he's fallen in with a crowd that he doesn't necessarily want to be with, but it's the only way that they can survive right now because they don't have the money. This is the Eight of Swords. Yeah, they're keeping themselves in the situation voluntarily. I'm thinking that whatever judgment they felt over here at the start is also the reason that they are not stepping out of this situation. Just feel like they didn't think that they had any options. They could have left if they wanted to. I'm pretty sure they knew at some level that they could go back to their hometown, to their family, but a part of him just didn't want to consider that option, and therefore they felt trapped in the situation that they were in. Then we have the Devil. All right, so we are currently attached to these people in the situation that we're in due to something that is keeping us there. Could be anything. It could be, indeed, usually the devil is depicted as some type of slavery. It could be that they're being held against their will. Could be that they are now hooked on something. Could simply be that they want this lifestyle so badly that they cannot give it up. Even though at the bottom over here you can see that the chain is actually undone because the lock is undone and the key is in the lock. So it's kind of the same of the Eight of Swords variety over here. They're just kind of like trapping themselves in the situation. They don't want to leave. They might be putting a brave face on it as well, looking at that mask, like pretending to be somebody and something that they're not for the sake of staying put, I suppose. This is the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so we're still not doing great resource-wise. I feel like they're still trapped, like they don't really have their own income, potentially. Therefore, their options to travel and strike out on their own are very limited. So they basically just stay there out of convenience sake. And strength. All right, so they are at least strong enough to withstand this. It looks like they've been through a lot here, but they just keep climbing back on their feet. A lot of nighttime references here with the moths and the bats. So they may also be kind of like more of a night person at this point. They don't really want to go out during the day, maybe because they don't want to get spotted, but more of a nightlife type of situation that they're in. Might not be necessarily for them, but like they said with the devil card over there, it's kind of just like putting on a brave face and pretending to be something that they're not in order to keep up appearances. We have the Page of Pentacles in reverse. We're making some rash decisions with what resources we do have. Again, with the Masquerade over here with the mask on top of her head, which they only really left occasionally under, I'm guessing, extreme circumstances to kind of wipe at their eyes. And then we're right back where we were, pretending to be something that we're not. Ace of Cups. All right, so we may actually be breaking out of that. We see this bird breaking out of this skull, and maybe they are now stepping away from this lifestyle, at least trying to, after what may have been quite a confrontation. Looking at the teeth flying out of this skull over here. Like, this bird to me suggests wanting to have freedom, and they're kind of breaking out of the old mindset in order to achieve it. Let's see how that went. And this is the Three of Cups in reverse. So that's causing for some loss of harmony over here. And since this card is in reverse, it's like we're stepping off the merry-go-round, because that's kind of what this thing is pointing towards. So we are stepping out. So the Eight of Swords over there, that energy is weakening. We are now actually dropping the mask, or at the very least stepping out of this situation because we can no longer handle it, or we just found enough strength to take that final step and walk away. Nine of Swords. We are very much concerned, though. Also appears to be very cold, this person. The world appears a very cold, bleak place in this moment. It could be that they are now back on the street trying to make things work, but you know, it's not very easy, of course. This card also kind of has some tower vibes in a way that those rocks are kind of floating around like they're about to fall down on top of them. But they appear to be kind of like grasping one of these rocks as well. So it's kind of like the harsh environment that they're in. They are taking anything on that they can because this is now an emergency situation, and whatever comfort, whatever support they can find, they're willing to accept it at this point. So that looks like a very destitute situation to be in. Page of Wands. Okay, we're doing anything that we can, I suppose, in order to get things done. Also speaks towards the desperation of the situation, because the page is, of course, very head over heels. And the Page of Wands has a lot of fire in it, but we're not doing quite the right things here. We're not thinking too deeply about the sort of things that we're doing. And we are possibly also just doing the wrong things without considering consequences. Ten of Cups kind of on its side, but mostly upward. So maybe you are actually finding a new situation, a new person to be with that kind of makes them happy. This could be a connection made out of convenience that turns out to be somewhat good. So I'm going to put it upright. Also noticing these are either cranes or herons, so it should usually point towards like longevity. So maybe this actually was a good new start. A very fortunate meeting, perhaps. So maybe they were taken out of this desperate situation by somebody who turned out to be benevolent, which is great. And then we have the Ten of Swords, which is still concerned about things, but also tends to be a card where people worry too much, even though their problems are about to melt away. Maybe this is some residual worry from the situation that they were in before, where somebody else came through and rescued them, and then they had all these issues here, and they might actually be very much on guard here with this Ten of Swords. Not really sure about whether this is going to turn out good or not. So it looks like they are willfully going from one situation to another, and this one may have been a little bit more positive than the rest, the one on the end there. So I'm wondering, what is he doing now, and will we ever hear more from him again? Is he going to reveal his location to his family? Let's see if we can get any cards about that. We have the Ten of Wands over here, so we are concerned. Though the Ten of Wands is usually about putting the burden down. We're tired of our burden that we've been carrying, and we're looking at perhaps laying it to rest somewhere. Maybe there's something that he wants to do first before he can take the next step, but that final straw there is coming up. We have the Five of Cups, so we are still thinking about the things that we've lost. We're not actually looking at things that we still have in the background. Also shows a dog that is feeling old and also has one less eye, it appears, so they may have been through a lot, and maybe that's all they can really focus on right now, so they are tired in this situation. Really zooming in on the things that he's lost rather than looking at what is still left. So maybe he isn't even really considering going back to his past, because that just does not seem to be an option. It never really was, not even like earlier in the cards. They never really seem to want to go back. Then we have a Four of Pentacles situation. We're looking at potentially preserving some resources or gathering some resources, because we have some issues there. There isn't a lot to go on, perhaps. There's some issues with our resource acquirements, perhaps not being able to save or something. And that leaves us at two minds with this Two of Swords. So now that he has some perhaps money issues, perhaps housing issues or something, I'm looking at the dog being in the cold, so maybe he's like in a situation where he's like, I might end up somewhere bad if I don't do something, but at the same time, do I really want to do that? Do I want to go through all that? Like that type of thing. He might be trying to make up his mind. Maybe also looking toward the universe for signs or something along those lines for what he should do next. Three of Cups. So there is some type of community around him at the very least. He may have made some lifelong friends over here. Looking at the crane in the background, once again, longevity. So maybe there is actually a support group that he has at the moment that he might not want to let go. Or these are perhaps people that are supporting him in making his decisions. Queen of Swords in reverse. We may be making decisions based off of false information. Might not be the best choices that we are making here, but we feel like we are making the best choices because the Queen of Swords, of course, is normally very sharp, very intelligent. Probably thinks that they know everything that they need to know, but perhaps still making the wrong decisions, or they are lying to themselves about something. Not entirely sure what that could be. So far, though, they seem quite comfortable to stay where they are, but there is a decision that needs to be made. Oop, okay, there's one down here, and there's two over there. This is one down here. The Emperor. All right, so somebody is coming in, stepping in perhaps, or maybe has already been there for some time, but perhaps also just giving them some solid advice. Just looking at the golden apple and the sword in the background, like here is a nugget of wisdom that you should probably consider. I hope that helps to make your decision, that type of thing. Somebody who he really trusts and respects coming through with some good information and some good advice. Then we have the Star and the Eight of Cups. All right, so we're trying to walk away from something and also perhaps revealing our location. It almost like shoots up like a flare. That's how I tend to see this star. Maybe a shooting star, maybe a meteor, maybe falling from the sky, but I feel like it is drawing attention either way. And the way that we're walking over here is a long road, but it seems to be leading toward the sunshine over there in the background. So that's positive news. Maybe they are considering going back home, or at least revealing their location and starting on their journey back to the past. We have the Hanged Man here. We have a new perspective to consider with a red cardinal as well, red herring. This dog is wearing the cone of shame, which is something that they use in order to keep the dogs from scratching or biting at something that they shouldn't be. So maybe they really have to keep themselves from slipping back into the negative mindset that kept them away from the people that they used to know before. But they are trying to get into that new perspective. At the same time, the cone of shame is also kind of keeping him from undoing the knots on that leg over here that is attached to the branch. They may be forced into this new perspective, like maybe there is just something going on that means that they have no option but to choose one or the other options, which may be revealing themselves. Let's see here. All right, so this is the end of a chapter. This card, a lot of people fear it because it says death and there's a skeleton on it and whatnot. But usually death means the end of a chapter, start of something new. Sun is rising in the background. We see lots of white flowers as well. So they may be looking back at the past few years that they've spent away from home and thinking, oh my God, that was quite a wild ride here. And now it's time for something new. It's time to close this, take with us what we can, and move on to the next thing. The moon is in reverse. The moon could be either hiding things or revealing things. Maybe they're choosing to hide a few things from their past because they don't really want that to be super obvious to everybody. But this card kind of like reminds me of that saying, like if you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss stares into you, like that type of thing. They may have some confrontations to do within themselves, to look at themselves candidly, and they might actually reveal some of that to the other people as well, the people that they care about. Magician in reverse. Okay, so there are certain things that we are currently not capable of doing. Maybe we need some help with that because, again, with the heart, there are things that they may not be able to heal on their own. It's kind of like a coming to Jesus moment, but perhaps not literally. The prodigal son or something. Just a moment of, I need help, please help me, I need a hug, like that type of thing. And then we have the Four of Swords on its side. All right, so we can't really lay low, but we also have to or want to lay low. Could be that they don't really want a lot of attention from people, so they might be looking for a time of rest and recuperation, but because of their revelation, like if they were to reveal themselves, then of course it would be big news, and people might be trying to get them to do interviews and things like that because people want an update in general. So they might have quite a time of trying to get some rest and having some trouble doing so because of all of the hubbub outside. So it looks as though there are some circumstances that are kind of forcing their hand to make a decision, and then somebody comes up and says, you know what, you need to do this. And because they are so well respected by Andrew, they're like, okay, I'll do that. As good and bad as that's going to be, I'll do it, I'll reveal myself, and then we'll have to deal with the consequences later. And then potentially one of the consequences being that they can't really take a break for the time being because everybody wants to talk to them. and ask questions and that sort of thing. So that is what I'm seeing in the cards for Andrew Gosden. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps the channel along. If you want to subscribe, that's even better. In any case, hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.